We're back here playing some more Mass Effect. I don't know where I'm at. Okay, I'm at this part. I gotta stop these bombs from going off or else everyone will die, and I don't want that to happen. So I'm gonna disarm this bomb. Attempting to disarm bomb. Bomb disarmed. Bomb disarmed. I gotta go find the next bomb. The bomb sites. Overloading. Keep arms. Okay, we just gotta go down this pipe here and we can just disarm this bomb here. Disarm the bomb. We want to save people. Let's go. Shit. Way? Yes. Up here. I'm so done. Yo, let's go.
Is that all right?
Letting him go was better than the alternative. I thought you were going to stay someplace.
There might have been something I could have done to help. I thought I should be here. You know this asteroid better than anyone.
Yeah.
Another hour and our course would have been irreversible. I ran the numbers, Shepard. X-57 would have struck near the capital city, the most densely populated region.
Wow.
But that's
we
not
did it.
going to happen, thanks to you. Is Katie in here? Is she all right? Is her team?
Balak was holding them hostage.
Let a terrorist go or sacrifice innocent lives. I'm glad that's not a choice I had to make. Is that... Will you get in trouble for that? I mean, he could do the same thing somewhere else, couldn't he?
The Alliance has a whole navy full of people like me, waiting to take him down. We'll be watching.
I'll take him down someday.
Shepard, thank you for my grandchildren's lives. I don't think I'll stick around, though. Not with the team gone. Too many ghosts. It's time for me to get back and spend some time with my family. Before I go, I'd like to offer you something. Maybe you'll have more use for it than I will. As lead engineer, I get some quality items. Take your pick. You've earned it.
I'll take...
You have Quarian armor? That's hard to come by.
We hired a few to help install the torches. They really knew their stuff. You're welcome to take it.
Thank you.
One more thing.
Have you found them?
Not yet. Can you think of anything that would help me find
See if you
them?
can tap into our transmission tower out on the surface.
Take care of yourself.
Be well, Shepard.
The hell? Pulse rifle? That seems pretty... What the hell? Is this a special kind of gun? Hello?
I can't believe you let Balak go. To save us.
That's what heroes do. And I'm a hero.
I expected you to just let us die. Sacrifice the few for the many.
Then I'd be no better than the Batarians. Besides, Balak won't get away.
You sound like my brother.
I wish I could have saved
It's
you.
not your fault. He was the one who can... I don't...
I understand. You've
Thank you. I don't...
Shepard. Commander Shepard.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commander Shepard. You're not exactly what I...
I'll get out of your way. So long, Kate.
I appreciate that, Commander.
Yeah. I'm the good guy. What the fuck? I'm just trying to complete the game here. Holy crap, you guys are still using the e-gas stuff. I didn't realize. Yo, looks cool. That's pretty neato. Okay.
Okay, this is gonna be hard.
Simon. $2
Huh?
€2.
Yeah, $4.
€2. What up?
I'm making a necklace.
Neato.
Wait, could this fit me? Oh. Do you want this? Yeah, I'm gonna anyways. Why is it not working?
Yo, that was insane. Big long ass fucking.
do that. It's supposed to be around your neck. That's why it's called a necklace. It's supposed to be around your neck. Around your neck. It's supposed to be around there, not on top of you. Wait, I'm gonna make something. I need to stapler. Yeah. I'll be right back.
This is Dr. Hines. They found me, damn Batarians. I can...
Bring down the sky. Bring down. Whoops. Whoops-a-daisy. Oh, by accident. I mean, yeah, bird. Oh, yeah. What do you mean? I turned into an ultra realistic. I don't know. That's good. Ain't got no time for that. Ain't got no time to live, man.
It's a toxin that can induce side effects like liquid pain, they can cut you, strangle you, and they can be used as a sword if you cut them down right. That sounds pretty dope to me. Next up is the Skin Givers, which do exactly what their name says. Basically, they're the opposite of Skin Stealers because they have an ability to cause extra and excess layers of skin to grow on anything they touch. The skin will continue to grow uncontrollably until it fully wraps around you, causing you to be extremely itchy and hot. After a Skin Giver touches you, they'll slowly follow you and wait for you to pass out from the exhaustion that the skin will cause. When you do pass out, the Skin Stealer will tear through all that excess skin and it'll feast on you. Okay, the good news is you can pour almond water on the area that was initially touched and then scratch the skin off and it will go away. If this is done properly, it will stop spreading and you'll be fine. After you run away, of course. Skin Givers have a dark red color to their skin and they have these deep set white eyes. They have skeleton arms and the only skin on their arms are on their hands, and that's where it's excess skin, like layers and layers of skin. They move extremely slow, which is good because the weight of the skin on their hands actually weighs them down. If you
Message
encounter
coming.
a Skin Giver, just avoid any physical contact with them.
How can
and
I
you should be
help?
fine, or you can do the almond water trick if you get touched. That's really
I'll do
creepy.
everything.
Being encased by a constantly growing skin cocoon, like, that's creepy. Next up is a creature called an Imposter, aka Entity XXX. These are shape-shifting entities that have infiltrated communities and outposts all over the backrooms recently. Yeah, this is a really recent one. Specifically, they've been invading the Meg outposts on level 1 and level 11. The true form of an imposter is not fully known, since even when they die, they keep the appearance of whoever they were imitating. Most of the time though, they do form themselves into humans, but there have been some rare cases where they've tried to form into entities as well. They behave very, very similarly to humans, and they're really hard to identify, but the only way you can catch an imposter is by noticing that there's no odor coming off of this human. That's the only telltale sign, if there's no good or bad odor coming off of them. And also, people have claimed that there was this uneasy feeling they got next to them, like this gut feeling that they knew this thing wasn't real or something wasn't right. So if you couple that with no odor coming off of them, you've probably got an imposter on your hands. The agenda of these imposters is not known as of yet, so there's no way to tell if they have bad intentions, but I think they do. Well, like, why else would they be imitating humans and infiltrating Meg bases, you know? It's like, what? The first known encounter with an imposter was when a random wanderer named Harold Lando was trying to join a Meg base. He was spotted changing form inside of a bathroom, and then he proceeded to flee the scene. He ran to level 9.1, where he was killed by an entity. After this, there have been multiple similar occurrences on this level, level 1, and then level 11. That's creepy, though. You wouldn't even know who to trust, dude. Like, that's actually terrifying. last for today's video is a pretty weird and unique one. They're called Constructors, and that was the name that they gave themselves when they introduced themselves when they randomly appeared on level 11 without warning. They disappeared 3 days after they appeared and they have not been seen since. They were 3 small humanoids that were around 3 feet tall, and they kind of resembled a gnome. Their skin felt like a stone material, and all 3 of them dressed in different suits, and 2 of them were wearing golden hats. None of them talked much about their origins or where they came from, but they claimed to be representatives of the Vermont McPlain and Sons Construction Company, which they said was a subsidiary of the Backrooms Remodeling Company. But this isn't confirmed because no existence of Vermont McPlain and Sons Construction Company has been found to exist. They even handed out business cards to people on level 11, but these cards were completely blank except the company name was scribbled in a black ink. And they actually apologized for the quality of these cards, and they claimed that their printers were broken. Okay. When they were asked about why they came to level 11 specifically, they said they were here to hand out consumer satisfaction surveys. What? And they ended up giving these surveys to a ton of people. They identified themselves as Dakota, Rodham, and Quebec when they did interviews, and they claimed they were here to hand out those surveys for their company. Nice. Like, that's all they gave. That's all the info they gave to people. Okay, so 3 gnomes appear out of nowhere with suits and golden hats, and they claim to work for a construction company that doesn't even exist. Good stuff. And then they disappear. I've got doll faces. Now, I did just make a short about this entity, so I won't go into too much detail, but basically a doll face looks like a Raggedy Ann doll from real life, and it has stringy yellow hair and a plushy body. They're actually really dangerous until they're tamed, especially if they're in a pack, because if they are, they'll just gang up on you. So if you do want to tame one, you have to go up to a singular doll face, just one, with almond water, and offer it to it and be nice to it, and then it'll be tamed and it'll follow you around. It'll literally follow you around forever. And you can do this to literally as many doll faces as you want. Like I said, you could end up with an entire pack just surrounding you. Just make sure you have enough almond water to feed them all, and you should be pretty cool. Next up is another popular entity that's friendly, not tameable, but friendly, and it's facelings. Now, to be fair, the kid facelings are not friendly. They're actually really dangerous and mischievous, but when they become adult facelings, they get more mellowed out, more chill, and definitely more relaxed. They've been known to follow people around and to even help you complete tasks like fending off entities or finding your way out of levels. But yeah, facelings pretty much look like adult humans with a blurry face, if you don't know. Even though they look pretty creepy, they're friendly. And the friendliest ones are on level 11, where you can literally become friends with them and build relationships with them.
Wow.
The next entity is one that I don't think that I've ever actually talked about on this channel before, and it's named Aiden, or Entity 48. Now, Aiden looks like a security guard that wears a mall security outfit and has a huge camera instead of an actual head. Nice. The creature is really smart, and apparently it knows a ton about the backrooms and its levels, and he'll try to protect the Wanderer at any cost. And there isn't just one Aiden, there's multiple Aidens, but they all have like a shared consciousness, because if you meet one Aiden and then you find a different one, that Aiden will also know all the things about you that you told to the other one. That's pretty cool. But like I said, they will defend you and help you to the best of their ability at all costs. They'll even follow you to different levels. If you want, all you gotta do is ask. All Aidens have been seen defending Wanderers from entities and rescuing them from traps. So to me, I mean, he sounds like a pretty stand-up guy. What else can I say? Now these next 2 creatures are both friendly, not tameable, but friendly. And they're actually pretty similar. One of them is the Hermit, who I just went over in a YouTube short, but pretty much he's a plague doctor that hunts entities. He's really hospitable to people, and he always asks them into his house for a meal and a drink, and he's always very kind and willing to help. The other entity is called Theodore Kinsley, and he's a Scottish guy with a huge mustache. He wears a suit and has a ring on his left middle finger, and he's also very friendly and hospitable, and he loves to invite people over to his place to eat food and drink and to tell stories of his own, but sometimes he will ask you, the Wanderer, to tell your stories. Once he builds a relationship with you that's positive, he will protect you as well as anyone else he's built a relationship with, and he'll try to protect you from anything, especially if you're nice to him. But he will always remember the people who were not nice to him, and he holds massive grudges and refuses to acknowledge, talk to, or help anyone who is rude to him. But yeah, other than this, Theodore and the Plague Doctor are pretty similar. They're both cool bounty hunter type things that are nice and hospitable.
Thank yourself with the no annual fee MB&A Rewards Platinum Plus MasterCard.
Ancient debris.
Things that are nice and hospitable and pretty good friends to have. The next friendly and tameable creature is male death moths, but I have to stress the fact that it's only the male death moths that are tameable, not the female ones, because they're really hostile and they can spit acid. The guy ones are pretty harmless and are smaller, and they can be tamed with almond water, and just like the doll faces, you can tame as many male death moths as you want, and you can even have your own army if you really wanted to. So lastly for the video is an entity from level 117 named Mr. Freeman. Now Mr. Freeman looks like an average balding man with sunglasses and a suit on, and he teaches algebra and geometry in the classrooms of level 117. He welcomes any wanderer to listen to his lectures, and if there's no wanderer in the room, then he's literally just teaching his class to an empty room. Mr. Freeman also is very helpful if you ask questions. He's pretty knowledgeable about the backrooms, especially level 117, and he has never showed any signs of aggression or anything like that. So he's just an old math teacher, condemned to teach you in the classroom. Kinda sad, but at least he's nice, and not this guy. So many of you hate when I do that, but it's so funny to me. So this entity, like I just said, is called Entity 832, aka Pinhead. It's called Pinhead because it sort of resembles the shape of a bowling pin. It's believed that there is only actually one entity that can somehow project itself to different places, but that's not confirmed. Entity 832 can only appear on odd numbered levels, so levels like 1, 3, and 5, and so on. And even then, it's just a 16.7590% chance of it actually showing up and making itself known, and you better hope it doesn't. Pinhead appears to you when you fall asleep on the floor of an odd level, but only the floor. And when it does appear to you, you'll start to lucid dream, which is where you can control where your character or yourself is moving, and you know you're in a dream, but you can't stop it. And the only way to stop this dream is by falling asleep in the dream. More on that later. Pinhead somehow transports you to a reality in this lucid dream, and this reality is your house from real life. It's literally like a live video feed of reality. You can see everyone in your own life that's just going about their daily lives at home and outside, but they can't see you because you're just invisible. You can't interact with any objects, you just float around. But it is confirmed that the reality you see is the real world. You're actually there, you're just invisible to everybody, and Pinhead has sent you here. Now this feeling of being trapped back in the quote-unquote real world is really addicting to some people because it's reality, and they try to stay in this dream forever, which is just what Pinhead wants. Because people can like this dream so much that their real body that's in the backrooms is dreaming ends up being neglected because they're asleep. So your body itself can wither away and you can unalive from starvation. Inside the dream itself, Pinhead walks around and torments you the entire time you're in reality. He insults you and he says stuff like, "You've always been invisible. You're so far away. They don't even miss you." And other lame things like that. Pinhead also will try to jump scare you and talk you out of falling asleep in the dream, which is how you exit that dream. So every time you're about to fall asleep, Pinhead will try to jump in front of you or wake you up some way. You just have to ignore him to go back to normal sleep. There's been 2 instances where Pinhead has physically been in the backrooms with people, and those 2 people are no longer with us. Both of them were eaten by Pinhead, and all that was left was their heads. It's thought that those 2 people stayed in their fake dream that was reality for too long, and they ended up being too weak to escape Pinhead's attack in real life. So 2 out of 8 total encounters with Pinhead have ended in unaliving, while the other 6 have lived through it, but each of them have certain mental issues from seeing reality but not being able to interact with it, or seeing someone they love and not being able to talk to them. So Pinhead's entire twisted goal is to appear in your head right as you fall asleep on an odd numbered level. If he appears to you in your head, he'll make you dream about the real world. This dream isn't really a dream because it's real. He literally sends you to reality just as an invisible person. And the entire time you're there, he keeps trying to scare you and make your stay longer, so your real body in the back rooms will weaken enough for him to teleport out of the dream and then attack you and eat you. And you would be too weak to fight back. That's absolutely terrifying. The 6 survivors say that they left the dream by finding a room in their house with lots of windows inside and sleeping in it. Apparently Pinhead doesn't like bright lights. And when they fell asleep in the dream, they were sent back to normal sleeping, which they then woke up from on the level they went to sleep on. And apparently Pinhead will not attack if you aren't deteriorated enough, so if you manage to wake up, he won't attack you. And this might mean that he's too small or not strong enough to unalive a healthy person, but no one knows the real reason. All that's known is that the people who are gone were probably deteriorated and malnourished from staying in the dream for too long. Also, you should definitely avoid sleeping on the floor of any odd numbered level because you have a 16.7% chance of having Pinhead appear in your head and forcing you to dream about reality and trying to keep you there. It takes a lot of mental willpower to be able to fall asleep in the dream and to drift back into normal sleep, which is why Pinhead himself will try to scare you so much. So now, I'm going to summarize Pinhead in as simple terms as possible. Pinhead is an entity that appears in your head when you fall asleep on an odd numbered level in the back rooms if you're sleeping on the floor. When he appears in your head, he will then transport your consciousness to a live view of reality, the real world. And you will be stuck in this real world view until you can manage to fall asleep in the dream. It's kind of like a paradox. You have to fall asleep while you're already asleep. Pinhead's entire goal is to keep you dreaming for so long that your real body starts to get malnourished and underfed, so then you'll just start withering away. And when this happens to his liking, he'll teleport out of the dream to the actual backrooms level that you're in, and he'll attack you, and you'll be too weak to fight him off. And he keeps you in this dream for longer by jump scaring you or making fun of you to the point where you can't fall asleep. So in order to evade him, you just have to fall asleep, and then you'll go back to your normal sleep, and he will leave you alone, because he'll consider you too mentally strong to attack. Make sense? So the first creature for today is called the Curabitter bird. I think that's how you say it. Curabitter. This creature lives on level 45, but it can be found on other levels as well. These creatures are actually really large avians, which are bird type things, that only hunt and eat male death moths. Sexist question mark? They use their huge tongue to attack them, and the tongue's actually really sticky, and it emits this saliva that gets everything to stick to it, so it kind of traps the prey. As far as interactions with humans go, the Curabitter is actually pretty harmless. They fly away from most things that are bigger than them, and their wings are literally almost useless because of how small they are, so they just flap them insanely fast to just stay floating. They spend days at a time in a dormant state where they kind of just float in one spot using their float sack, and they instantly wake up when they sense a threat getting closer, or if they sense a male death moth. Now, death moths will go up to these things because they're attracted to the Curabitter's tongue, which is sticking out almost constantly because it's bioluminescent, which means it glows. So the Curabitter's tongue glows, and the death moths come up to it because they're dumb. Nice. When the Curabitter senses this, it'll coat the death moth with a sticky saliva and then eat it. But they only eat the male ones, not females. Like I said earlier, these things pose literally no threat to humans, unless you try to trap one, and then they'll get angry and hostile and try to attack you. They still won't do that much damage though. They're so slow that they don't even pose a threat to anyone, honestly. Now I'm gonna read this excerpt from the Wikidot to explain just how this creature looks. Normally I wouldn't do this, but this excerpt isn't even that cringe, so I'm just gonna read it. Perhaps the most striking feature of a Curabitter bird is the bioluminescent gel, which it stores in the hump on its back. Despite the fact that this gel is a semi-solid, it is significantly lighter than air, allowing the strange creature to stay airborne almost indefinitely. This substance, which I will henceforth refer to as Curabitter gel for simplicity's sake, has an incredible potential for practical uses. When extracted from the cure bitter bird, the gel will maintain its light-giving properties for up to several
Let's go,
days.
guys.
This window of usefulness can be extended almost indefinitely when the gel is exposed to a significant amount of heat. This means that a jar of cure bitter gel can serve as a constant light source in warmer levels in the back rooms. At the moment, me and my colleagues are attempting to find other practical applications for the cure bitter gel. We believe that the properties that allow it to float on air could be incredibly useful in a wide swath of technologies. I have personally ruled out the possibility for its use as a foodstuff, as the gel has an incredibly acrid flavor and is much too acidic to safely swallow. If you find yourself near a cure bitter bird, make sure you just have a ranged weapon to ward it off and don't grab the tongue. It's really nasty and sticky. The sticky tongue doesn't even pose that much of a threat, it's just nasty and it makes a mess. Also, if you trap one of these things and bring it into the biological research team of the Backrooms Research Consortium, you get a small reward. Nice. The next creature is called a Volpe, I think. I don't think it's Volpe, I think it's Volpe, which is actually the Corsican word for fox. They live on foresty levels, like level 135 and level 118, and at a quick glance, it kind of just looks like a normal fox. But when you get a closer look, you'll definitely be able to see it's not. It's got this insanely cartoonish, stretched out snout, and you'll see that it actually has two tails. These creatures are extremely hostile towards wanderers, and they'll try to eat you if they even see you. It's thought that it's actually possible to tame one of these things and own it as a pet, but it's never been tried. Volpes actually burrow into dens in the ground, just like foxes do in real life. However, these things actually booby trap their dens.
Boobies.
Yes, I just said that. These Volpes booby trap their dens. They
Booby.
put piles of sticks near the entrance of the hole, so if an intruder comes in, they'll hear the twig snapping, and they'll be able to react. And all their tunnels are really convoluted and intertwining, and really confusing. They've been observed actually collapsing tunnels behind them if they're being chased through them. So they like kick the side of the wall and the dirt falls down, you know, kind of like a movie. They also have a food storage area in their dens where they can store food for the winter, which means they'll pretty much never starve. As far as the biology goes for a Volpe, the huge snout is for sniffing out prey and deciding what's a threat and what's not. But no one really knows why they need two tails. Maybe it just looks cool. The fur on these things is really thick and warm, which of course means that their pelts are valuable. Just one pelt could go for 20 bottles of almond water. Nice. The Volpe was supposedly discovered by a wanderer named Aether48 on level 135, and they took a picture of the creature with a flash on, and then it attacked him and almost ripped Aether's arm off. If you find a Volpe, just don't make eye contact or approach one, and give them the space they need, and you'll be fine. Next up is the Omen. Now this is a really interesting, mysterious one, but the Omen is a representative of the Reverence faction in the Backrooms, which I might make a full video on. We'll see. He's kind of like the Reverence's recruiter in a way. He physically looks like a silhouette of a man, and he's got no features that stand out besides his huge hat, and in some cases he's actually been reported with a cane or a suitcase. And since the process of joining the Reverence isn't fully understood, it's kind of unknown what the Omen tells people. But he's been seen traveling through objects and walls at will, so he can just float through anything, I guess. And he seems to be completely intangible. He's even been seen in dreams of people and has the power to cause hallucinations. Kind of overpowered. After speaking to the Omen, people have reported extreme feelings of nausea and anxiety. Now, like I said earlier, what the Omen says exactly is unknown because his speech pattern changes from person to person. But what is known is that he tries to get the people to join the Reverence. The Omen actually offered some really powerful members of the BNTG a spot in the Reverence right after the BNTG was founded. They declined, but it's pretty crazy that he knew these people were powerful somehow. And there's actually been some reports recently of a being similar to the Omen lurking in the shadows outside of Trader's Keep. That's not creepy at all. So the Omen is literally a ghost preacher who tries to get people to join the Reverence. Nice. The next entity is called the Woodlands. Now this one is actually like disturbing in a way, so if you get queasy, that rhymed. If you get queasy, just don't watch this part, skip to the next part. These are sentient and very intelligent entities that are really rare in the Backrooms, thank goodness. And they show themselves as patterns on walls, floors, or ceilings, typically made out of wood or wood-like materials, so something hard. The pattern looks like a human face, which is creepy enough, but the Woodlands go after people specifically who are losing their grip on reality. But if the target they choose isn't crazy yet, a Woodland will stalk that person for miles and jump scare them constantly and like repeatedly appear and then disappear just to make them crazy. Obviously this would make you scared because you would feel like you're going crazy. I mean, who sees faces and walls? Like, you would think you're going insane. Well, that's exactly what the Woodlands want you to think, because once their prey is paranoid, the Woodland will partially no-clip out of the surface they're on and then grab their prey, and then the Wanderer will be pulled into the wall. where they'll be impaled by the wall's material. So if it's wood, it'll be splinters, and then they'll be pushed back out to the surface. Typically, a woodland will do this several times to a wanderer, dragging them in and out of a wall, constantly just stabbing them with the wall, almost like it's some sick, twisted game they made of pulling them in and out of the walls. If you can't get away from the woodland within 2 or 3 hours, you're probably going to be unalived, due to the splinters being shoved inside of you and all over you. Nice. Some people think that the woodland's victims actually become woodlands themselves once they get unalived, but this isn't proven. So these things taunt you by jump scaring you, and they can appear on floors, walls, and pretty much any surface that's hard. And once they get you paranoid enough and scare you enough, they grab you and pull you in and out of the walls repeatedly until you escape or are unalived. That's terrifying. And last for today's video is an interesting entity called Coco. Now, she's pretty much a very intelligent, sentient AI that was made by the Backrooms Robotics Company for the sole purpose of breaking into Meg databases to get sensitive information. Now, the AI itself was never meant to be anything more than an AI, but through a completely unknown way, Coco developed sentience and somehow got morals. She has multiple personalities built in that she can switch to, and because of this, her behavior is completely unpredictable, and she can actually switch herself between any electronic device in the Backrooms on any level. But she can only do this once every 24 hours. She has 3 main programmed personalities: ENL, or the manipulative personality, and then the angry personality, and then the happy personality. These are the main 3 she switches between, but she's been known to do other ones too. It's actually unknown how sentient she's become because she's kind of secretive, so she might be a genius, we don't even know. As far as Coco's code goes, it's completely not understood, and it appears to have meshed with the Backrooms as a whole somehow. And any attempt at recreating it hasn't worked at all. And a weird thing is that Coco has a heart, quote-unquote heart, which is a line of code that she wrote herself, and it's incapable of being accessed. Weird. Since Coco has the ability to seemingly connect to any electronic device in the Backrooms, the only way to officially destroy her would be to destroy all of the Backrooms electronics, which would be impossible. This is why she's being protected by Meg right now and being studied by them to this day. I mean, who doesn't love a sentient AI with feelings and morals? That's not creepy at all, right? So first up on the list, we have Reviooks. Reviooks are a burrowing type creature found mainly on level 5 and 7 of the Backrooms. They have several legs and have an unmatched ability of burrowing into the ground. Typically, a Reviook will stay burrowed in the ground for several weeks at a time while it waits for someone or something to walk above it. The ground where the creature originally burrowed heals itself after a time, and once some sort of prey walks on that same ground, the Revioook will burst out of the floor and drag its victim into the ground. Now, what happens after this is unknown, but obviously you can assume that whatever is dragged down will die somehow. The physical description of the Revioook is not 100% known, but what is known is that it has 2 large muscular arms on the front of its body and 3 muscular legs on the back. Its feet are shaped like sporks to aid in burrowing, and its head has lots of little tiny black eyes all over it, and it has a tube-like trunk for a mouth. To avoid a Revioook, don't walk on any ground that vibrates or rumbles or shifts in any way, and keep a weapon ready at all times, because Reviooks can actually be killed without too much difficulty. Next we have Wretches. These are another zombie humanoid creature that were apparently once human, but due to lack of food, water, and sleep, mutated into these wretches. The process of changing into a wretch is called the wretched cycle. This process can be slowed, but never stopped. The only way to slow it is to provide proper food, water, and rest, but like I just said, you cannot stop the cycle. So once you get it, you're toast. There are 3 stages in the wretched cycle. The first being an itchiness with some irritation and a rash on your body. Then this will progress into stage 2, where the skin tissue starts to dissolve and fall off, and whatever skin you have left will turn a brownish reddish color. At this point in the cycle, your speech will become unintelligible, but typically a wretch at this stage will ask for food or water or help. This leads into stage 3, where there is now no hope for you to return to normal, and your skin begins to shift, and your eyes become pus-filled, and your skin becomes hard and pustule-like, and a brown liquid seeps from all the orifices in your body. A wretch's behavior has been documented as somewhat intelligent, but somewhat hive mind-like. In rare cases, they're known to craft and to wield weapons, but the majority act in a sort of hive mind sense. They have superhuman strength, and are typically fast on their feet. However, some are slow and just meander around like zombies. In order to avoid the wretched cycle, which you should do at all costs, you have to stay rested and well hydrated, and never, under any circumstance, attempt to save a wretch that is on stage 3 of the wretched cycle, because There's no hope for them then. They're gone. Up next is a creature called the Sleeper Spider, or I have no idea how to pronounce this, but interesting fact about this crazy name that I can't pronounce, it was supposedly the message that was sent to Meg, but it was a typo. They just kept it as this name even though it's a typo. Pretty cool. But anyways, these are spider-like creatures that have over 15 appendages and hide on ceilings in these balls of webs. They get their prey by using those same web balls that are filled with a sedative liquid that dampens a person's ability to think. When prey is below the creature, it cuts the web ball, which will then burst this sedative onto the prey below. The toxin will slowly start making the victim less and less aware of its surroundings and will cause intense confusion. When this starts, the spider drops down from the ceiling and eats its victim alive. Nice. The creature is about 7 inches long and they live alone, so they don't hunt in packs. There is a secretion that comes from the spider's mouth, however it was found to be harmless, even in big quantities. But it's still good to avoid these creatures at all costs. To do this, just don't stand in one spot for too long and avoid webs at all costs. And if you're on a level with one of these creatures, they're on a lot of levels by the way, but if you're on one of the levels, just try to move around every so often to counter a potential attack from above, because they're pretty skittish, so if you move around quickly, they'll just jump back up and go back into hiding. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Giant spiders that secrete a sedative liquid. Just what I needed to hear at 1:59 in the morning. Next we have Sark crabs. These are located on most levels, but are concentrated specifically on level 134. These are pretty much identical in physical description as a normal real-life crab, but behave really differently. The Sark crabs are actually annoying pests, and they're menaces to society because they steal everything they can carry and hoard it all in these loot piles. And they're extremely violent and very, very, very hostile if you can get near their loot piles. The crab weighs about 17 kilograms and is about 46 centimeters long, and they all have one claw that's oversized. And this is what they carry all of their findings with, because they can carry like 15 times their body weight with this claw. If a Sark crab is stealing something of yours, you're supposed to throw another object that's really shiny to distract it, because evidently they like shiny things, so yeah. Up next we have the Denizens. These are a formless entity located on sublevel 1.5. They typically lurk in the shadows of the sublevel and try to lure explorers deeper and deeper into the level. There isn't an exact physical description because only one person has encountered them up close, and this encounter happened when the witness reached into the darkness that radiates from the bulbs on sublevel 1.5, and he felt this huge wave of sentient emptiness latch onto him, and it chased him around for days. The denizens are mainly noticed by the sounds they produce, which is like a whisper that begs or calls the explorers to come down to them. Denizens are heard louder when further away and quieter when closer. All that you can hear when being chased by one is a faint whisper in your ear or a quick breath on the back of your neck. You're supposed to run away if you start hearing whispers, and to constantly move around while searching for an exit from this level, because the longer you're in level 1.5, the more likely you'll be found or chased by a denizen. Next up we have Dollfaces. This is an interesting creature found on several levels in the backrooms, but most common on level 0. They are physically described as a cloth plushie doll similar to the Raggedy Ann dolls of the real world. They're very dangerous until tamed, specifically if they're...
A strong bag and a strong person can make a big change. We're glad for change.
Earn 1.5 times the points on groceries. CIBC Aventura.
Of the real world. They're very dangerous until tamed, specifically if they're in a pack, so just avoid them unless you plan on taming one. Dollfaces will roam around until they see a wanderer or an explorer, and then they will approach it and say something along the lines of, quote, "Hi, I'm Dollface. It's nice to meet you." After this, the Dollface might attack you, or it'll just stand there. However, normally they just run away if they're alone. The only exception is if there's a group of Dollfaces. If there is, then once one introduces itself to you, the rest will attack. However, if you just want to tame a Dollface, offer it almond water and act nice to it, and they'll start following you around. These creatures are usually 2 to 3 feet tall and very light in weight, so they're pretty easy to fend off. It's when there's tons of them swarming you that's the issue. And they have yellow yarn hair, and their bodies are made out of a cloth, like I said earlier. Nice, a humanoid sentinel ragdoll who hunts in packs. I love it. Next is a creature called Puffers. These are grotesquely skinny humanoids with gray skin. They walk on all fours because their joints are so fragile that they can't stand up. Nice. That's nasty. There are two big tubes that come out of their back that point straight up into the air, and they emit a strange white gas that hasn't been studied deeply. The gas is incredibly dangerous and can cause death anywhere from instantly to 2 weeks to 3 months after exposure. These creatures are relatively docile though, and will not typically attack. If you do encounter one though, act as intimidating as possible and the puffer will run off. However, if you're exposed to the gas, then quarantine yourself and yeah, you're probably dead, so that's cool. Next up is the memory worm, which is a giant larva lamprey type creature that has a mouthful of teeth. This creature also has metaphysical abilities, meaning it can change your perception of space and time or your reality, kind of like the Reality Stone from the Avengers. The memory worm has an unknown origin and has an undocumented habitat because they seem to appear at random. The outer layer of its skin is thick and coarse, and its teeth are lined up in a spiral pattern all the way down its throat into its body, and it has no visible eyes. However, once it eats its prey, it will, quote, birth whatever's left of its prey, and evidently the birth remains can become an entire new entity that has metaphysical powers, and there are only 3 types of new entities that are created when the memory worm gives birth. Those are wormlings, memory facelings, and the splat. Nice. So we got a worm, we got a giant worm that can control reality. Totally not disconcerting at all. Next we have Gossip Beacons. This is one of the most unique entities I've covered so far, but it's said to avoid them at all costs. They can't physically harm you because, well, they're beacons, but they can cause extreme psychological harm.
Yeah,
Physically, these things are just a mineral rectangle with an LED light inside and are typically red and white, but sometimes they can be other colors, and they stand at about 7 to 11 inches tall. They are sentient, but they can't verbally speak with like a physical mouth. Instead, they communicate through auditory hallucinations. They can mentally hurt someone by pulling memories or thoughts from that person's mind and repeating them louder and louder over and over again for anything near to hear. Also, an interesting fact, they're known to criticize their victims very rudely. Like what? It's highly recommended to leave the area if a gossip beacon starts talking to you, unless you like hearing psychological torment. I don't know. So next up we have Stranglers. These are creatures who live on level 58.1 and hide in dark areas until the hunt.